A soldier noticed a landmine beneath his feet, but instead of warning his commanding officer, he pretended not to see it and simply stepped over it. The unsuspecting officer walked forward and stepped directly on the mine, instantly realizing he was in grave danger.
It was a pressure-release landmine. Any slight movement would trigger an explosion.
The officer ordered the soldier to quickly find a rock to help disarm it, but the soldier refused to help. Instead, he pulled out a handgun and aimed it at the officer. His true intention was to complete the mission alone and claim the credit for himself. He threatened the officer to stay still and slowly backed away, leaving him behind. As the soldier walked downhill, a loud explosion echoed behind him. He knew the officer was dead, and he smiled with satisfaction. Soon, the soldier arrived at his target location, preparing to eliminate a fleeing American soldier. He spotted the American's weapon and raised his gun, but suddenly noticed the soldier lying motionless on the ground. Thinking he was dead, the soldier boldly stood up and approached to investigate. At that moment, another American soldier, who had been hiding in the snow, sprang up behind him and fired. The two engaged in a fierce struggle, but in the end, the American managed to kill the enemy soldier. Before he could even catch his breath, the ground beneath him began to shake. Looking up, he saw that a convoy of enemy tanks was approaching.
With no choice, the American soldier abandoned the enemy's body and ran. But why were the enemy forces so determined to kill him? To understand that, we must go back a few hours. Earlier, an American fighter jet had been assigned a reconnaissance mission. Since a ceasefire agreement had already been signed, they believed it would be a routine task. However, during the flight, the radar picked up unusual activity within the ceasefire zone. The pilot and his partner decided to investigate. This action angered a local militant group. They immediately activated a SAM, surface-to-air missile, system and locked onto the jet. The aircraft was hit shortly afterward, forcing the two men to eject. One pilot injured his leg upon landing. In order to find a signal, the American soldier climbed a mountain, an action that ultimately saved his life. Soon after he left, the militants arrived and shot his injured companion. The returning American soldier witnessed the scene and cried out in horror, unintentionally revealing his position to the enemy. Luckily, he managed to hide and escape detection. He reported the incident to headquarters, but deploying troops could trigger a new conflict. The order was clear. He had to reach the edge of the ceasefire zone before any rescue effort could be launched. Thus began a difficult escape. He had to avoid snipers and tank fire while navigating harsh terrain. In one desperate move, he even jumped into a pile of corpses to evade pursuit, enduring the overwhelming stench. Now the question remains, will the militants find him hiding among the dead?